So we're here with Mel Turner Jr. Mel's interviewing for Cheyenne City Council, running in Ward 1. Welcome, Mel. Glad to have you here today.
Thanks for the invite.
I'm Brian Martin. I'm the managing editor here at the Wyoming Tribune Eagle.
I'm Sharon Payne with Black House Energy.
Bob Feck with the Cheyenne Animal Shelter.
Again, welcome, Mel, and thanks for running for office. What specific issues or concerns caused you to run for the Cheyenne City Council?
I think primarily not knowing the direction we're going to go, with the awareness that everything around us, fiscally wise, is coming around, just falling down around us. So we understand the state is obviously has their our fiscal woes, and that's impacting us now. But in the future of not having that financial security that we once relied so much on when it came to the state, what are we going to do? That's the question that I have. What? So I think I really wanted to hear a plan from our city elected officials. What are we going to do with this economic failure from the state, and how are we going to adjust to it? Recognizing that a lot of our restrictions are the laws that we currently have in place, the statutes we have in place, where we can't raise some of the revenue through taxes that we want to, as much as we want to. So then what else are we going to do? I've been talking with some of the city officials and just sort of picking their brain, what they think, what's their opinion, what's going on. Just, the ground truth of what do they see are some of the issues. And they kind of said the same thing. We don't have a plan.
So you want to be involved in developing that plan, is that what you're saying?
I do.
Okay, sounds good. Mel, what qualifications do you bring to the table that will help you serve as an effective council member?
Nothing as far as elected official wise. I've been on boards. I've volunteered my time in helping my community with respect to being a coach of my daughter's soccer team, helping my church. But really at the core of my experience comes from the things that I learned in the military. I've traveled around different places, and the one thing remains true. No matter where I'm at, if I'm not involved in the community, then I really have no say. So I've been in Japan, I've been in England, I've been in all those other places, and become immersed into the area that I'm in. And you begin to listen, to hear what's going on and figure out what's going on, and to being involved. And I think that's one of the key things. I understand what it takes to serve. I understand what it takes to be involved, the commitment that goes along with it. And then the other piece that I've been told that I'm good at, and I guess I have to admit to it, is I know how to talk to people, different backgrounds, and understand their point. I think a lot of our failures as people in leadership positions, where sometimes we go into a situation where we have a plan and we don't take the time to listen to people that it affects. And I don't quite understand that. If we're going to come together and do what needs to be done, we got to listen to each other. So I have to say that I'm pretty gifted at being able to listen to different people and see different sides.
Now, could you expand a little bit on your background and experience? I know you've been in the military, but maybe what are you doing now, or your educational experience, and are you from Wyoming?
So I'm originally from California. At 18 years old, I joined the Air Force as enlisted, and kind of what I've mentioned about being involved. I realized within the first 7 years that if I'm going to make changes to things, I have to kind of be in a position where I can make those changes. So after getting my degree in criminal justice, I got commissioned. So in my commissioning time frame, I made a lot of those changes that I wanted to that affect the people, and not only the people that work for me, but also the environment, the area that I served in, my community, specifically on installations. Then I got my master's degree in business, an MBA in business. And from there, I had to make a decision. Do I stay in the military or do I get out? And again, I came to one realization: no matter how high I climb up, the elected officials truly have the say-so when it comes to the military. So I wanted to make the changes. Then from there, I came back to Wyoming. I did was stationed 2 years in FE Warren here, and served in a security unit. Left for 9 months and then retired and then came back. So my total time frame here in Cheyenne has been about 5 years.
Thank you.
Mel, what do you believe is the biggest challenge facing the city of Cheyenne right now? And then once you've identified that, what are a couple of others?
I have to go back to not having a defined a plan that we're going to go to. One thing that I've heard consistently is no matter what change gets done, it's not the silver bullet, it's not the cure-all. So then the question has to be, then what are the silver bullets, the multiple changes that need to take place to have the effect or the outcomes that we want? So in recognizing that most of our folks here, and I'm certainly one of them, I don't want higher taxes, but then I also have to ask the question, well, do I want safe streets? That only means fire departments able to respond, but the roads that they can safely respond onto. Do I want my garbage picked up? And recognizing that even to today's date, we haven't really been contributing. Everyone hasn't really been contributing to the full amount of what it takes to get our garbage. We've only been paying percentage. Again, using state revenue to assist us. So that's drying, that well is dry. So then what are we going to do? So if we can't do taxes, then the other question is, so let's get businesses here. The one problem is not having a defined path and a defined direction towards building the revenue so we can sustain our city without waiting for the state to come back to help us, because that's not going to happen.
Another issue or two that the city faces, another challenge that you see?
Well, I see that being the primary challenge. And once we do have a strong revenue stream and that's consistent and not relying upon, again, the state, then it becomes easier to decide of the city that we want to become. I think on my part, again, assigned here at FE Warren, a lot of our folks that were on base, they lived in Fort Collins. I always wondered why. I just was clueless why. And a lot of our folks, they chose to travel to Fort Collins to spend their money. Again, I didn't quite understand that. That's a lot of money going out of our state. When people want to go shopping for Christmas, we don't shop here. Some do, we do, a lot of them do, but the diversity and the variety of stores available, things we can. So I think what I've seen and talked to others, we want our city to remain safe, to keep the small town appeal, but at the same time, we want that, again, that strength and that revenue. We want to be able to have that. So the question is, if we're not going to have business here, we can still maintain a safe city, and we're not going to raise taxes, what are we going to do? And I want to be a part of that conversation. I want to be a part of that decision making. I want to bring it to represent, my ward, to be able to say, what do we want? There's a lot of space down in Ward 1 that we could be using to help some of that revenue building as far as businesses.
So you mentioned sort of the strength of revenue. Do you have an idea of what businesses that you think we should bring in, or have you?
Specifically, no. I don't think that I have a particular business in mind. And I know we've, in the past few years, we've done a lot to get folks over here between Microsoft and MacPool. I mean, there's been a lot of businesses that come over here, but we're looking for more of those businesses that generate jobs. So the tech industry, awesome tech industry. But if you get an entire facility, you don't need 5 people. Is that really going to help us out? We need to be able to access that payroll. We need to be able to have the people that come over here want to live in the city if we do have a business that's going to employ. So to be able to attract businesses to be here, and I'll be completely honest with you, I do not have that answer. There are people smarter than me, and that's one of the things that I'm good at. I know that I am not wisest person in the room, but I understand how things work as far as systems work. And I understand that if we're going to attract business, in order to have better employment, in order to get those essentially tax that payroll, that's a revenue stream.
Thank you.
And one of the tools that economic developers use are incentives. and tax incentives and things like that. How do you feel, or would you support incentives that come before the council to recruit those businesses and investing, the city investing in those type of businesses?
I do. It's with anything you need investment to get something. You have to require something. You have to have those incentives, and whether that be looking at the taxes associated with those particular businesses and what we levy upon them. Well, again, if there's going to be a consistent revenue stream as far as those payroll taxes that we're going to benefit from, then maybe we should look at it and entertain it. That's where I'm kind of looking at. And I don't have all the answers. I truly don't. But there are people that do. There are business owners that do understand. And there is the commerce, as far as we're able to tap into that and says, what is it going to take to attract those type of businesses? This is a great, safe place. I think that within itself is an attraction. But then how do the businesses know they're going to make the money? That's what we have to do.
Mel, can you describe your vision for Cheyenne?
Funny enough, I think Cheyenne already has pretty much my vision. All the places that I traveled, I didn't know I was going to retire when I said, I was going to be done with the military. When I came here, I instantly knew. I have 3 children, and I just wanted them to grow up in a safe place. Again, being born and raised in California, bless their hearts over there. I do not want to raise my children there, but I do want to raise my children here. This is a community of folks that really support and care. My vision is to continue that on, but again, not rely on outside resources, if you will, to keep us strong, because I think we have the ability to make ourselves strong without relying on the state.
What do you think the community doesn't have that it needs to have, and how would you help make that happen as a council member?
Involvement? I would say that's one of the things that I would like to see more is involvement. Case in point, the other day they had I forgot what it was called, but the rally the other day at the plaza. All the cars were there, the old cars. Somebody had mentioned, my gosh, I wish this was kind of more publicized or more made aware. We would love to have done this. You have all these establishments around, it's a pool. I would love for there to be something that we can get out to all the masses and to let them know that, hey, we want you to come out here. And then in doing so, have those opportunities to just kind of come together. So that's more of the social involvement piece. But then the other involvement is basically being active into making decisions within our community. I had threw my hat in the chair when the chair became vacant a few months back. And a great person was picked, Jeff White, awesome gentleman. But the one thing that we had talked about was, let's have some town halls where we can go into each sort of major network neighborhood and talk to them. Let's do those type of things. Let's get together to get involved. Let's talk about separating fact from fiction. That's what I like to see more of. More of the kind of find it interesting that people want that sort of small town feel, but we don't want to do those small town things. Let's get together.
So you know that the police department does have basically town hall meetings throughout the year in every area of the community. So would you join that, or would you have separate meetings?
Well, I think to participate in it with the focus being on community safety, I think that's awesome. But I don't think we're necessarily talking about community safety. We're talking about what do we want for our city. So as the police, and again, big fan of Chief Kozak, what he is doing to try to empower, educate, inform, and keep our city safe and what we can do, that is awesome. I think that what we continue doing. But I think we need something else. We need to talk about, again, some questions. Why am I being taxed more for my trash? Well, this is why. How come the north side's getting the park and we're not getting the park over here? How come these things were done? Let's talk about those things. There is more rumor, innuendo, people with ideas based off of what they hear, based on what is. And yes, we do stream the the city council meetings, and we have those things. But let's take it out. Let's have those conversations before we have the city council meetings.
Mel, can you talk to us about your priorities for the future of downtown Cheyenne? As you probably know, there's a downtown core plan, there's a West Edge project that the city's working on. What are your priorities? And if the city had some extra money that showed up, where would you put that money?
As far as the priorities go, I was educated on the West Edge project, and actually met with the city planner, Brandon, I forget his last name. Thank you. And he kind of educated me on it. I love their ideas. I love that they actually have a plan. Sad thing is those plan really isn't really supported by the current city council. I think there's a different idea that we have, the city council has as far as moving forward. As far as priorities go, to look at our city officials and to ask them financially, what are the most viable things that we need to do? So the priority one is to have a plan that is financially backed, if you will, tied together. As you will hear, all of my ideas, all of my priorities, everything comes with a plan. So even to take all these different plans that we have as far as the things that every city official has and put them together and says, what do we need to do? And then again, to bring that out to the city. So one is to make sure that we tie everything together to make sure we understand what's going on. The second thing is to really inform and educate our constituents and taking it out there, making sure they're aware of what's going on.
Was there a mention of the downtown core? It seems you were briefed by the city about West Edge. Was there a mention of the downtown core? Are you familiar with it?
No, not educated on it.
So they didn't mention it at all?
Well, we really talked macro picture of things, but no, they didn't specifically mention the city core. The one thing that I did kind of learn about was some of the leases that are currently taking place within the plaza, and those are interesting to hear. Some of the arguments, wrong word to say, discussions that take place on how we can lease out things for $1 with the understanding of how that revenue ultimately comes back. I'd like to have that discussion.
Mel, how do you feel about the use of taxpayer money for amenities like the Children's Museum?
I support the Children's Museum. I don't think I necessarily support the Children's Museum out of our collective tax dollars. I would like to see private donations. I would like to see more fundraising being done. I would like to see to maximize the extent of having those things done. Now, am I aware those things are done? No, I am not. I don't know how much effort has gone into doing things as far as fundraising goes to do that. But I can tell you that the person in my ward that is struggling to make ends meet and is recognizing that he's getting taxed more for something that he is not going to benefit from immediately, that's a concern. Now, is there an understanding that this is what this does? It does provide a depth and breadth to our city that is ultimately going to increase business and grow our revenue. Yes, that is something that can be educated. But when it's all said and done, that's not their immediate concern. Their immediate concern is, how can I make my money extend further if you're really taking that away from me? And I don't think necessarily that a museum is one of those things that we should be using without going through, again, fundraising first.
How do you feel about development of the city-owned Belvoir Ranch? There's been some talk about opening up some public access for recreational use. How big of a priority would that be for you?
I think it's a matter of what is the impact going to be for the city. One of the discussions that I had, and I think it's kind of interesting, is as we expand our city, are we going to have the resources, specifically emergency responders on the roads, to be able to meet that? And I don't think we can continue to expand without recognizing that if we don't increase our impact fees as we grow, it's going to come out of everyone else's pocket. I see the benefit. I definitely do. But I don't know if we have answered all those questions and have asked those questions. I really don't know if we have.
What are your budget and savings priorities for the city? If you're elected to the council, what would you support in terms of how the city spends its money, and how much do you think the city should be saving?
Zero-based budgeting, big believer in that. With that zero-based budgeting, it goes by what do we need and what do we want. If we have $1 and that last dollar is going to be spent on roads versus spending on parks, I think if we're going to be elected officials to support or represent our city, and we're supposed to have safe roads to allow emergency responders to get to and fro, then it's pretty obvious where that $1 is going to go. But if we don't identify those needs versus wants, we're not going to get there. I think in a lot of discussion that's been taking place is we really want to do a lot for our community. But how much are we sacrificing in the need category? So zero-based budgeting, identifying our wants versus our needs, and then going down the line and doing it that way. It sounds cold. It sounds sort of harsh. But I think, and this is where my business background goes into, if any organization, and we're just a big organization divided into elected officials, city officials, the city, social organizations, obviously the people and businesses. Those four things make up our city. We come together, we're an organization, and if we're going to thrive, we have to determine what is a need versus what is a want, and then move towards those directions.
Next May, we're likely to vote on a slate of projects on the six-penny ballot. What are your personal priorities? What you'd like to see on that ballot?
For me, I think the biggest thing is looking at how we're paying our city emergency responders, looking at how we're taking care of our roads. To me, those are the biggest, our two, our infrastructure, really, when it's all said and done, our two biggest priorities. No matter how much we attract business, if we can't keep the roads maintained nice and pretty, nobody wants to come here anyway. The other initiative that I would like to see potentially happen is, again, growing in our housing development. And again, I'm going to be pleading ignorance. I don't know how that would work, but there are people that do. Inviting them to the fold to figure out from our developers, along with our folks that, again, have properties, and have a conversation. What do we do about expanding our housing? Because again, some of the folks that work here, who collect a paycheck from here, guess where they're spending their money on? They're in Colorado.
What amenities do you think are needed to keep families and young professionals in Cheyenne, or attract them to Cheyenne?
Diversity of variety of businesses. We have the core things here, I think, that will allow people to feel comfortable living here. But then the question is, then why does everyone go to different places to buy? Well, I have an 8-year-old daughter, and pretty soon she's going to be 16. Teardrop. And I know that one day she's wants to go to her little store down there that's having a sale, and I want to be able to spend those dollars here, or those new shoes going to be available here. Just a better variety of retail specialty items that they have here, and I think we're doing good. I really do. Like I said, I love it here. Can we do better? I believe the answer is yes. You know, there's a lot of folks that are interested. I just met with one gentleman. I admire the heck out of him. He's a military guy, still active duty, opened up a barbecue shop downtown, Tasty Bones. He's already got a full-time job, but no, he wants more. So he takes the time to go ahead and set up a business, and because he recognized there was a need, he kind of balked at some of the concerns that he had with starting up a business, the financial issues of it. And again, he's active duty military. He's only making so much money. He doesn't have a whole lot of capital, but he makes the sacrifices in order to do it. And I think in doing so, makes us a richer city. I mean, we had some barbecue restaurants before, and we don't see them around anymore, but he filled the need, the desire. And now, from a variety standpoint, I don't have to go down to Fort Collins or Greeley to get my barbecue needs met. I can do it here.
Mel, how do you feel about the possibility of this council passing an anti-discrimination ordinance? Do you think that's something you would support as a member of the council?
As of right now, without looking into it more, researching it more and figuring it out, I don't like unnecessary laws. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think unnecessary laws are necessary. But if the need is there, I think it is something that we look into. I mean, being a minority myself, and recognizing there are people out there who don't look at equality the same way. Trust me, I'm not saying I'm against it, but I am saying that in the Cheyenne that I'm familiar with, where I have been given equal opportunity, where I have been given, I believe that I've been treated fairly. The question would be, what are we going to gain from it?
So there's some fifth penny sales tax money and also some general fund money that goes to the United Way for distribution to some approved nonprofits. Are you aware of that? And if so, are you in support of it or not in support of it?
There was a time that I worked for a nonprofit here in the community focused on veteran homelessness. And in my duration there, I recognized one thing with the city. We have a lot of great heart, but no direction when it comes to some of that heart. There are a lot of people who create a nonprofit or donate to a nonprofit, and they do all these things. And the social services sort of come and take on a particular need here, need there. But yet in the middle, there's still needs that need to be met. So this right here, sir, is kind of near and dear to my heart. One of the things that I wanted most during my time with that nonprofit is to come together as nonprofits to say, hey, what are our city's needs? What can't the government social services not do? What can the religious services not do? And what can we do as nonprofits to help meet some of those needs? What can we do collectively? We had some folks come on board. It was energizing. It was refreshing to see that there were some people that are interested. It didn't last long. They had other focuses. I would like to see that money to be used to figure out what needs that we have and to see if those needs could be met by a particular agency. If our biggest need is, and I'm just throwing this out there as an example, sir, but if our biggest need is to learn how, or to teach people how to apply for positions, learning how to do their resumes because of employment issues, if that is our biggest need, let's focus on that particular need. So I agree with the community coming together, but I believe that the community needs to come together to meet those particular needs that can't be met by government and private entities. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Mel, the last issue we had was the issue of landfill expansion, and it looks like we're headed toward the Happy Jack landfill being expanded and maybe lasting 30 more years or whatever. Have you supported the increases in the trash fees, and then where do you see it going longer term?
I have supported, and I think one of the reasons why I have supported is I didn't realize that my money going to it didn't really pay for my share of my trash. So this 8% that's going to be increased over time, they'll ultimately get us to 100%. I guess let me just say it simply. If I have 100 pounds of trash, I deserve to pay 100 pounds worth of trash being taken care of. If I have 100 pounds of trash and I'm only paying for 90 pounds of it, that's a problem. Who's going to take care of that? Well, the city has for a while, and the city is saying uncle. So I do support, because we're going to need to do something about it. There it is.
Mel, are there other issues, anything else you wanted to share with us that we haven't covered in our conversation today?
I'm new. I'm learning. I'm not as I said before, it almost sounds like I'm berating myself by saying it, but I'm not the smartest person in the room. But the one thing that I believe that I have is a different viewpoint on things. And within that viewpoint and that energy that comes along with it, I think based on a lot of what I'm hearing from a lot of the folks that I talk with, I think that's what we're looking for. I think we're looking for outside of the box thinking. I think we're looking for new ways to get things done. I think we're looking for new ways to communicate. So as far as any specific issues to touch on or any initiatives that I have, I think I've spoken to all those initiatives. But as far as identifying maybe the need for a different perspective, I want to bring that to the city.
I would really appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming in.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.